Welcome back to March or Die podcast. I am the Stressmaster.
And I am the Tumor, and as I say every week, not because I'm malignant, simply because I march spot B9. Shout out to all my B9 homies.
B9 homies. And all you stressful kids, shout out to you. Okay, so we have a special podcast today. CJ, go ahead and introduce our guest.
Yeah, so I'm really stoked about this week's guest. We've got a lady that we marched with back in the olden days when everything was still in black and white. And speaking of black and white, she marched to, I believe it was one season with the Freelancers, and then moved on to the black and white team and marched a couple 3 years, I believe it was, with the Phantom Regiment. So I'd like to introduce you all to Jen Duenke.
Hello, hello. Yeah, so I marched 92 Freelancers with both of you. That was my first year. Freelancers is a legacy corps for my family, as all three siblings, at the time, all three siblings marched Freelancers at one point. So we all have the same
Wow.
corps jacket. So, and then I went on to March 93, 94, 95 regiment, aged out 1 year too early. So, yeah.
Those are all good
But
years, though.
I know. Oh no, totally. I've honestly said without 93, 94, 95, you don't get 96. So,
It's true.
it's my gripe about it is my father drove for them in 96 and he has a ring, and yeah. So
Wow. That's kind of an
he has a
interesting
ring.
conversation.
So he's like, "You want to see it?" I'm like, "No, no."
Wow.
But
That hurts.
yeah. Yeah.
Are you
So
having some issues over there? Okay.
I'm sorry. You okay there?
Yeah, I'm just having a couple of. You guys just carry on.
Okay.
We'll just
I'm
carry on.
I'm going
We'll
to show
carry on.
everybody the room and everything like that.
Yes.
So listen, Phantom Regiment alum. Just between us, we won't tell anybody. Go on. What does SUDA mean?
It means shove it up. No.
Do you know,
Yeah,
I
so
can
I'm
honestly say I've been involved in the drum corps activity since 1985. That was when I first discovered drum corps, my first marching year of obviously with the Freelancers in '87. But I can honestly say to this day, I don't know what SUDA means. I don't want to know what SUDA means because I'm not a Phantom Regiment alum. I don't know
right.
what splooey means either. And again, I don't want to know what splooey means
You
because
don't.
it's none of my business. And if you know it, Justin, I don't care. Don't tell me. I don't want to know.
I just know because I've heard it, and it's as bad as what it sounds.
It
I
is.
imagine it is.
It's kind of funny. Every now and then it comes up in some of the alumni groups. We start talking about what SUDA means. And I think it's honestly transitioned a few times over the years. So what it means to me may not be what it means to a couple of older folks and some newer folks.
Hmm.
And there's been a few arguments in the group about one of the letters of SUDA. So
Hmm.
it's
Right.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's
and I also don't know what 6 words are as well. I've got my own version of 6 words, but
Who is that?
bluecoats.
Blue coats. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know that either.
so? If I just did a video on 2023 Phantom, and at the end they do the famous kick with
Yes.
and it says Suda on the shoe, and I was like, what the heck? What's on their shoe? I don't
They've
know
been
what's
doing
on their
that
shoe.
forever. Yeah, like, and a lot of the guard will have SUDA on their gloves for their free hands. Yeah, they do it only for finals.
Crazy,
Yeah, I mean
man.
that. I was jealous that you did that 2023 reaction because I wanted to do that reaction, by the way, because I adore that show.
That was a cool show, and in all transparency, I did a video, and I was kind of negative. It was like the park one where they did the park, and I was kind of negative on it. I was having a bad day apparently, and I
Yeah.
felt really bad about it. I'm like, afterwards, I took the video down. I'm like, I felt horrible because it's like you can't judge something at the beginning of a season. You just
Yeah,
can't.
yeah.
It's
And
development,
it's in that
you
park shell, all you hear is the drum line beating on their drums that in that park shell. It's if any recording has ever come out
Mm.
stellar there. But it's kind of funny because I remember I went and saw Muse. Muse was in concert in St. Louis where I'm at. And in March. And then I went up and I didn't know anything about the show. And then I went up to the camp in April and was talking to Tony Hall. And he was like, "You're really gonna like the music this year." And I was like, "Why?" And he shows me the song list. I was like, "You're kidding me." I'm like, "I love Muse, they're my favorite band, you know." So I was really excited to hear Phantom playing, some music that is modern and relevant to me.
And
Yeah.
truthfully, I don't think that music would have been appropriate for anybody else to play, quite frankly. That's what I thought was so cool about it, is that a, a modern prog rock band
Yeah,
that
yeah,
you would think is the furthest thing in the world from Phantom Regiment. When you heard it, you realized, actually, shit, nobody else can play this, really. This is
yeah,
Phantom Regiment.
yeah.
And I
Yeah,
thought
it was
I
a cool
that's
we
show.
need
what.
to keep leaning in on that.
And now the news. Normally, this is the part we do the big roundup of all of the week's news, but let's be honest, there's only one news story that's everybody's talking about, and that is, of course, this. The Cadets Arts and Entertainment files for bankruptcy. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. You can go to cadets.org to have a look at the full statement. Just a couple of things that I wanted to talk about with this. First things first, those who watched the video that I dropped this morning, which was the top 12 list that nobody wants to be on, I created a point scoring system that ranked all of the corps that have competed in DCI finals, and essentially applied a point scoring system to rank the top 12 based on historical significance. And I don't think people really have a grasp of how huge of a loss the Cadets is. The Cadets were a 44-time DCI finalist. 34 of those times they were in the top 5. 10 times they won the DCI championship. And when you look at the scoring system that I put together, they scored 968 points. The second place corps was the 27th Lancers with 172. I just don't think people really appreciate or understand the impact of losing the Cadets really truly is. Obviously, we lost Vanguard last year for a year, but they're back. And I think people knew Vanguard was coming back. The thing with Cadets is, this is it. This is final. They are not coming back. They're not coming back at all. No successors are coming back. All that we have now is the memories and the legacy. And the other thing that I would say, and feel free to pipe in on this, Justin or Jen, if you want to, is this is different from any folding that we've had in the activity before, because this wasn't about money. This wasn't about costumes. This wasn't about staging or props or anything like that. This was purely sins of the past have caught up with the Corps, and it's time to pay the piper. And unfortunately, we couldn't afford to pay the piper. So that's all I'm going to say on it. I'm sad. I'm angry. I'm hurt. I'm disappointed. So that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, just from an emotional standpoint, I'm definitely, I that's the only corps that would have pulled me away from regiment. In fact, after my 94 season, I was going to go to cadets. Then something kept me at regiment. I just decided I didn't want to be in a rookie age out, and so I stayed. But if I look at everything that is a high point of my fan resume, like these are the shows that I love, cadets are in almost every year. I mean, they're just iconic. And despite the politics of it all, and everybody has an opinion, this is just a heavy, heavy loss for the history of our activity.
It's
And I
like a
just feel
death.
this, yeah, and I feel this loss for every kid who would have gone to cadets and had that life-changing experience now, and this is just, yeah, it's like you said, it's just the sins of the past, and it's a real heartbreaker.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there was any. As soon as I heard they weren't fielding, I knew they weren't coming back. I just knew
Yeah.
it. I knew it. I think we talked about it a couple times before, and there's just no way to come back from this. If you're getting sued, it's for millions of dollars. And there's just no way. Organizations barely get by on the $2 or $3 or $4 million budgets they have now. How are they going to afford that And plus, you got to hire lawyers and PR firms and all kinds of things. You got to spend extra money just to, do what you got to do. And I feel for them because, like you said, it's the sins of the past. This current organization, even though they had the name of the cadets and the history and stuff like that, it was a completely different organization from the previous thing that occurred. And they were really trying to change the perception of the organization and hired new board and new organizational structures. So it
moved to Erie.
Yeah, I mean, and they had a whole thing going on there. They actually had a whole indoor facility ready to use for this next season where they could actually practice. Yeah. So I mean,
they physically had a home. And the other thing as well that I would say as well, this might be a little bit controversial, and this is Kanan talking. I'm not talking on behalf of anybody else here. This is just me and my opinion. Okay, I see it all the time that a lot of people saying, "Hey, thanks, he who shall not be named," and I won't utter the man's name on this channel. He who shall not be named might not have been the accused in this particular instance, but the actions of him over the years that ultimately led to his departure from the Corps in 2016 did have an effect in this, in that obviously the Corps was already financially crippled from having to fight a lawsuit that he brought against the Corps for $650,000. Okay. And then on top of that, the loss of reputation, the loss of income. It's estimated that whole thing cost the cadets upwards of $1.5 million in lost ticket sales, in lost sponsorships, in revenue in general. So the Corps was just recovering from that mess right into this, and this mess. Do you know what? It's entirely possible that they had this made it all the way through the court system. It's possible, and I would suggest maybe even probable that this version of the cadets would have been found innocent, but it would have been the cost of just having to get to that point to clear their name. They just couldn't do it. So,
well, I've been arguing that for a while, and again, my opinions are my own right now. But I will tell anybody who will listen to this activity is at threat of one litigation, and this is it. I mean, it takes one litigation to knock.
You've been saying that over on Drum Corps Planet for years.
I know, right?
It's like you know what you're talking about or something.
And finally, here it is, litigation, boom, done. I mean, that's why it's so important now that modern Drum Corps, the people that are leading these organizations need to do everything they can to support, protect, and uplift their members, train and educate their staff to not do dumb things. I mean, that's what it is,
So yeah, folks, that's the news. We're going to do a separate video, a tribute to the cadets, obviously. But obviously, we do have a guest, and we are all on a bit of a time crunch here. So we're going to go ahead and move on now. So we specifically asked Jen on here today because I want to talk her into trying to become a bit of maybe a rotating host on the podcast moving forward. I didn't mention that bit before, did I? Sorry. Yeah. But also because Jen is knowledgeable in an aspect of the activity that I'm not. Justin's somewhat knowledgeable in, but I'm absolutely not, and that is, of course, color guard. So we're going to watch some videos today, and we're going to watch some color guard stuff. So we're going to watch a little bit of DCI, some WGI, and then we have a little bit of a surprise for Jen of a reaction video that Jen may or may not have been involved in. And shall we watch some Drum Corps?
All right, so we're going to watch a little bit of Blue Devils Ghostlight, right? Ghostlight.
Yeah.
So good.
Their movement really is amazing.
Crazy. Oh, that's it? That's just a little thingy?
We're just doing some little snippets here.
Yeah.
All right,
I
what's
remember,
next?
So I remember while Justin's getting all that queued up, When I was marching with Kids Grove, we were part of System Blue. And we had an arrangement where Blue Devils, so our show was written by John Meehan and Scott Johnson. Um, and we had Blue Devils instructors come over and work with us. The only time in this activity, outside of the time that I met George Zingali, that I've ever been starstruck was we had TJ Doucette come over and work with our guard. And I got to talking to her and I found out that she'd been on the Blue Devils A guard staff since 1985.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, my God, is there anything? This woman probably knows more about the activity than she's forgotten more about the activity than I'll ever learn.
Right?
Yeah, for guard, it's like it's literally the smallest details because you're especially like what we're about where you watch is WinterGuard, you're up close and personal, so you can see everything. Like your
Yeah.
finger pointing, is your hand supposed to be cupped? Is it supposed to be bladed? Is it supposed to be at an angle? Is it
Yeah.
all these little details make the difference.
And
Yeah, we
that's something Blue Devils, their attention to detail, and this goes to their choreography program for their music members as well. But the attention to detail and the description and education they give about character and carriage is above and beyond. I mean, each member of their drum corps, not even just the guard, knows exactly what their role is to play. And it's starting back with the Dolly show. What was that, 2008? No,
Hmm.
2011, something like that. That was the first time where their guard really, I felt, had split apart and had all these different roles, all those different little props they carried and all this stuff, all their facials, all their expressions. It's almost like they went and gave them each a different character to play and then said, go play. And that was the first time that I realized that what they were doing was so incredibly different. And that's a really divisive show. But oh my gosh, I was in it to win it with that show, you know. And they've carried that role and that educational process to today.
Hmm.
all
And
right. So
you'd said something earlier as well. I don't know if it was on camera or not, but you'd said something about, that they're the masters of simple movement, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
And I've often said that the thing is about the Blue Devils is that there's now I make no I don't hide the fact that I'm a massive Blue Devils fan. Um, but the thing about the Blue Devils that people forget is that they're they probably have the most intelligent show design out there. And what I mean is that they design a show that is achievable. They have a standard. They don't waver from that standard ever in the slightest, but they don't write stuff that isn't achievable. They write stuff that is achievable and then add on as they need to, you know.
Well, and they
And
also know how to breathe. And what I
yeah.
mean by that is when you're writing guard work, there are some color guards who they will write notes for or beats and moves for everything. I mean, they'll write choreography for every beat and every note. And it makes me a little crazy, you know. And whereas like a whole section of Blue Devils guard will sit down and play a tambourine and
Hmm.
fling their hair around, whether you prescribe to hairography or not. That's not a complex role. They do it so well, though. And I'm not saying the
And they're
tambourine wasn't important. I'm just saying they were sitting in chairs that whole time, banging on a stage, doing
hmm.
whatever. And while that was difficult in the sense that they were part of the percussion ensemble at that point in time, it could have been anything else. They could have taken the tambourines out and they could have still sat in chairs doing whatever, and they would have done it so well.
Yeah, and
You
it's
know, it's like they
effective
aren't
and
going
it's
100 the whole time.
exactly. And it's effective as well because so we did a few videos back where we have a series on here we call Verses where we take two cores that maybe people think, hey, maybe they should have flip-flop. So my job in that particular video was to defend the Blue Devils, and Justin's was to defend the Blue Coats.
blue
Was the Blue
coats.
Coats? So yeah. And I selected that part of the show that you talk about for my bit of guard. I might have got a little bit of an
I
input
did watch that.
from our guest host here,
I did watch those episodes.
but but the thing is and you nailed it on the head. Yes, they've then become part of the percussion ensemble. And what they were doing particularly difficult? No, it wasn't. But was it risky? Absolutely, because if that didn't come off perfect, it would have killed the GE score.
Mhm.
But because it came off perfect, it massively enhanced the GE score. And
Exactly.
it's just doing the small things, but doing them just really, really well.
Yeah, and I
The other
think
thing
that's
about Blue Devils, they always seem to be about 5 years older than everybody else. I mean, their guard has a carriage. They look like full-blown adults out there, just because of the way they're educated. They're just amazing movers in that sense.
And then also, I've always had this opinion as well that when you look at old drum corps, everybody looked older in the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah.
Go back and watch 1983 Madison Scouts. That soprano soloist is 34 years old. He worked down in the docks. He was divorced with 3 kids. I'm telling you.
They put up some video on DCI the other day of some old school, trumpet player, what they call bugle player, whatever, soloist. And he had a mustache and I'm sure a cigarette in the other hand. I was like, why does he look so old?
And
they all looked old back then.
He was probably 19.
Oh my gosh.
It was because they didn't have the power of the mullet back then, you see.
But I still see like drum corps kids on the field now with mustaches and everything, and they don't look 40. They still look like 18-year-olds with mustaches.
Yeah,
it was different back then, man. I don't know what it was, but the 70s, everybody looked so much older. Mm-hmm. All right, so
should we watch some WGI? Yeah,
is this 15 Mechanicsburg?
I believe so. Yes.
Is that the right one? Okay. All right, so this is Mechanicsburg High School Scholastic World, I believe, 2015, and here we go.
17.
What a catch.
15.
14.
13. 12. 11.
I'm kind of shocked at what high school kids can do now. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, here. Oh, I love this part. I mean, I think they do like 15 of those in a row. And
oh my gosh.
It's just insane. And they just keep going.
Wow. The thing I love about WGI
and then that behind the back catch to finish it.
Such a powerful show.
It's hard to watch these kind of shows, especially as a parent.
Yeah. I'll have to tell you guys about a show that I watched once that just messed me up. Look at the angles.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
It took me a couple watches to realize the floor design. That shadow. Oh. I've always wondered. I look at these kind of shows like I can't grow my hair past this. Like ever. And I see all these guards with beautiful long hair, and I'm just like, how do they do it?
Another one goes missing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm almost getting teared up. Okay. I only watched part of the
Yeah,
show.
sorry. I talked right through that emotional impact because I love their hair.
That's all right. That's all right.
One of the things about this show that I was quite impressed with as well is the interaction from performer to performer. When you had somebody on a weapon, for instance, chucking a rifle on a 7, and then you saw the girl come just sling herself underneath her legs. And the amount of trust that must be there between performers is just wow.
Like I expect that from a Boston level of guard. And they did a lot of these kind of exchanges. They love doing these kind of exchanges. And these are, at this point in time, professionals. They're 21, 22. They'll go on and be 25-year-olds in WGI World Guards, and they're professionals. But to see a 17-year-old do it is completely different. It's just, I'm so impressed with these programs that start them so young and just build them through to that.
Yeah.
And then they go on and they march Blue Devils.
Yeah. All right. So our last show that we're going to look at, we're going to watch it in the entirety, is a show you were in, which is 93 Phantom. I don't remember much about the show because 93 I was so mad that we didn't make finals. I was just so
It was
angry.
hot and it rained.
It was Mississippi. There's memes everywhere about Mississippi on Drum
Yeah.
Corps everywhere. Drum Corps coffee shop. But let's just watch.
I
Here we go.
literally just saw one today.
Is this the year that David St. Angel flipped the bird at DC at
No, that was 92.
Was that 92? All right.
That was 92. So I have a lot of words to say about this show. This was my favorite year marching. So yeah, sorry 92 freelancers.
Hey man, I would have loved to march 93 Phantom as well.
I wanted to march. I wish I'd have marched Blue Devils in 92.
I was gonna march to 90 Blue Devils actually. I wish I would have, just to have a different experience.
There's something to be said because you came in from 89 to 92 Regiment Color Guard. Very classic, very ballet, everything. And that's what I came and auditioned for. And then they were like, so we're going to do Martha Graham and go modern. And I was like, what is this? What is modern? What is Martha Graham? And they completely changed the dynamic of the Color Guard. And we just felt, and then they brought out those black uniforms. Oh my gosh. We felt so incredibly empowered in those uniforms. The costuming was fantastic.
Damn, I miss G Bugles.
We were so loud. Maybe
I know.
A little out of tune.
Dude, 90. If you ever listen to 91 Phantom, oh my god, talk about out of tune and blasting. Oh crap, that whole show's blasting, but it was awesome. And it was loud.
Still the biggest shithole the DCI's ever marched in.
What, Jackson?
Yeah.
Oh god,
yeah.
yes.
Yes. So this was all a very different style of movement for us. We had never moved like this. Everything we had done was very upright, very ballet. And so to come in and say, okay, now we're going to kind of break our spines and do all these curved shapes, and our arms aren't going to be in typical fifth position or third position. It was really different. And I think some people did struggle with it, because it wasn't Phantom, But it was. I mean, the show has now become the benchmark for what is Phantom.
Do you get any screen time in this show?
No, no screen time.
I marched 5 years, and I have literally. Sorry, it's a beautiful part. I have only one part that you can kind of see me.
Yeah, I have screen time in 92. I could still do that movement. Some things just stick in your head.
You know what's so funny, CJ? Mario was in every single video every year he ever marched.
Even when he aged out the second time.
When we marched Blue Devils, he has like a full-on, I'm right there. And he's like on every video.
Are you talking Mario, like?
Baritone Mario.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
He was on every video.
He aged out of Freelancers and then aged out of Blue Devils as well. Gotta love having a Mexican birth certificate.
I can neither confirm or deny that.
This was, and my 93 friends will hate me for saying this. This was not the cleanest guard. We had a lot of new members that year, including myself. A lot of rookies. And after an 8th place finish, it was like 30 kids at auditions. And we were pulling kids all the way into spring training in the guard. So the flag line kind of struggled a bit. And but that rifle line, that rifle line was like 7-year vets. And they could just throw like nobody's business.
What'd you guys place this year?
Third,
okay.
third. Mm-hmm. We were too crass to get any higher than third. Like, it was like someone lit a fire under us and we just went,
What song is this? I know this.
Danza Finale.
Okay.
Hystera.
Yeah. I know I'd heard it many times before.
And we even played it in 79. So that's not the
Yeah.
first time we
Blue Devils played this.
Did they really?
They played that ba-da-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da, that something that sounded like that.
Maybe I knew
What
that.
show was that? Yeah, no, they played this.
So
What
I'll
year was
say,
it?
anybody that marched this year talked about crowd reaction to us. Oh, I love the sopranos in this part. So
Yeah, this is Blue Devils, right?
They did do this later, I think.
Was it later?
Is it later? So I'm the front guard girl coming around the corner on side 2. And the crowd got so loud that I could not hear the drum corps behind me. So like going across the field. So I legitimately had to watch the drum major for the first time in my career.
Wow.
I couldn't hear anything.
God damn. So loud.
Incredibly loud.
So loud.
Still gives me goosebumps though. That whole moment.
What was that piece called again?
Danza Finale. And it's Alberto Ginastera with a G. G-I-N.
I think it was early 80s Blue Devils, maybe.
Was it really?
I think so. I know I've heard that many times before.
Oh wow. I found out just within the last couple of years that one of the pieces we did for in '94 was like the Blue Stars. Was it the Blue Stars or Anaheim? Whoever had won like the first DCI
Anaheim.
had played that. It was Anaheim. Okay, had played the song. I was like, oh my gosh.
Hey,
Blue
man,
Devils.
if it's a cool song, it's a cool song.
Yeah.
Blue Devils played it in 1999.
Was it
Okay.
99? Okay.
It was
Okay.
newer. Okay.
All right.
You gotta love the Drum Corps X website.
I know. I love when they take off the helmets. So cool.
Yeah. So the
Creasing outline
the
of the
thing about
form.
these helmets though is that when you put the helmet down and you come back to it, you're actually coming back to your own helmet. So like you don't just go back to someone else's helmet. You're going back to the helmet you put down. And so it was a lot of kind of figuring out how do we get these people back into that original shape and so pretty.
It's such a lovely part of the show here. I love it. Baritones, Buicks. I love the bass splits going up there as well.
Phantom Drill, man. So cool.
This was Tony Hall's first year with us as well.
Why on earth was there not a kick halt there?
We didn't do kick halts in any of the years I marched. I know. They went away for a while.
What I've
Blue
discovered
Devils
about
had
kick
lovely
halts,
replicas of those flags in their show last year.
kick halts with the Phantom Regiment, it's like waiting for a bus. You wait forever
Yeah.
for one to come right, and then it's all of a sudden 3.
That's so true.
I stole
That's
that
the-
kick halt so many times over the years and put them in my marching band shows. It's cool and effective, man.
I still remember eating Cheerios out of a Phantom Regiment helmet in 1992. You gotta love the
That's great.
old Drum
Oh
Corps
my
scavenger hunt.
Love this song.
You guys kill anybody this year?
No, we didn't. Nobody died in my years either. But I mean, the death is in the name. Does that count? It should count.
Maybe we'll watch the death count later.
There you go.
Oh, I love this part.
Go on mellophones.
So good. this little stair step thing that happens here, and the guards running through the Corps. I was the leader in one of these lines coming through the Corps, and it was just the energy was like, I mean, my adrenaline was flying.
Wow. So freaking loud in the 90s.
That's one of the first shows I can remember as well, where the pit was placed out on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really think it was. Yeah. Look at the snares running forward. I mean, they're just flying.
So cool.
100-yard spread as well. Jesus.
Okay.
The first show of the year, I'll tell you, the first show of the year when we ended that abruptly, the crowd was like, what? Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's kind of an abrupt ending.
Used to. Yeah.
Wow.
Jeez, man, my mind hurts from all the cool stuff I saw.
Well, thank you for taking me down memory lane. It's always fun to watch that show.
Yeah, and I think I've only seen that show like once or twice, maybe in this entire time, 30 years. Yeah. I've never like watched it. I don't know why, but
my favorite part of that show isn't any particular song. It's just, to me, there's certain shows and certain drum corps that if you had to pick a show to encapsulate what that drum corps was, you know, and for me, I would say that the words that come to mind for Phantom Regiment is beauty, is emotion, and it's absolute intensity bordering on violence.
Which is why we were also riding the rails and couldn't get any higher than third.
And to me,
those things.
To me, this show has all of that in it. It's just the sheer aggression of this show that I love so much.
Yeah.
So. Alexa was going off there.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, it was one of those things where, I mean, that was a show where we were also incredibly proud to be a part of it. At the end of the day, it didn't matter what place we came in. Third was just a wonderful joy. And who was ahead of us? Cadets and Star. We weren't catching that. That stuff was good.
That's Cadets versus Star is a subject for a completely different show.
Totally now. Yeah, you know, it's I remember my takeaway from 93 was I was putting my luggage in my parents' car. So it's hours after the show ends, and a guy walked by with his son and they were whistling Danza Finale hours after the show had ended. And I was like, that's it. That's why you do what you do, you know? Maybe that kid grew up in March Regiment a number of years later. I don't know. You know?
You just never know with that stuff.
Yeah.
Probably went to Cavies. All right, should we wrap it up then, guys?
Awesome.
Jen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah,
and,
thank you.
You're welcome back anytime you'd like.
Awesome.
And as I said, we're going to be doing a completely separate episode about the cadets. Might be in the next day or two, but we both need a little bit of a break. But yeah, so Jen, thank you very much. I'm
My pleasure.
stoked to have you on.
Good deal.
All right.
Anytime.
Well, thanks so much. Go pick up your kids.
They're gonna come in the door any minute now. So yeah.
But before you do, you know what you need to do. You need to like, subscribe, hit the bell, and more importantly than anything, though, Justin, what is it they need to do again?
They need to subscribe.
Subscribe, and then there's also something about marching somewhere. Where they
march on.